Right, so welcome back to the second half of our football referee. Yeah, so we was talking about Palace before the clock started running down. So I'm going, yes, it's recorded. Yeah, so I watched that game and I thought um I thought about was there a penalty? There was a penalty decision, wasn't it? That went against Palace. Was there a penalty? Am I correct? Am I thinking of it?
Um,
Am I thinking
yeah,
of a
no,
different?
they did get a penalty, didn't they? Yeah,
That's
and
yeah,
and Henderson, unusually, because he's very good on penalties, usually very well researched as
yeah,
to which way the player might kick the ball, but it's not always going to work, is it? And it was a well taken penalty. But yeah,
yeah,
it's a frustrating game really because it's if Palace had continued even broadly on their first half performance, which once again, like the Liverpool first half, was really excellent. I don't think there's any question they would have won, and that for me is a bit of frustration that we could have and maybe should have won that game. Having said that, long runs generally come to an end, don't they?
well,
So
they
it had
do.
to happen at some stage, surely.
Yeah, yeah. I put it all down to the fatigue side of
Yep.
it. Because you've been to Europe to then go and play in Europe, and then you've got two
Mm,
days in between. Well, not even 2 days. You got a day in between to then
mm.
prepare to get back to a Premier League game against a tough side like Everton, because they're not easy to beat, are they?
Um,
Everton, they're good. Right. Okay. So just the last thing before we move away from that game was the fact that the Everton fans were calling for Jack Grealish to be put back into the England squad. So they were sort of calling the attention of Thomas to get him back into. Do you think he still belongs in the squad? Do you think he deserves a place?
for me, that's a sort of a yes and no answer
Ah,
because I think he's got a lot of quality. He was always one of those players when he was at Villa and when they came to Palace. You know, before the match, the players when they arrive, they just walk out onto the pitch in their tracksuits, even before they come out to do some pre-match training.
right.
And I remember he would come out with his Villa colleagues and looking at him and thinking, I don't know quite why, but I thought of him in terms of being an excellent Premier League footballer. He just
Mm,
has something that separates him out. He had something, and of course that's probably why he went to Manchester City. I think he gave a good contribution there. I
mm,
think by his own admission, maybe eventually Pep thought, well, we'll release him because he said I did give off this kind of party going attitude, which is probably a true reflection of Jack. I mean, he's that sort of guy, but
mm,
he's a good footballer, and I can think of his games at Man City where he gets down that wing. He's good at holding the ball. He'll be quite good at passing it as well. Whether he whether he contributed enough in the quality of Manchester City, I don't know. I mean, you think of someone like Doku, be quite similar in a way to Jack, but
mm,
Joku could dribble, get down the line. So I don't know. Maybe he had the edge as far as Pep Guardiola was concerned.
mm.
Whether I now will put him back in the England squad, well, probably not. Well, not this time, as we know. But if he sustains some good performances in the coming weeks and months,
Mm.
then he could get to the World Cup. Performances in the coming weeks and months,
Mm.
then he could get to the World Cup because I think what I would say is he offers something a bit different. He's not a predictable left winger or midfield player. And that's the beauty of someone like him in your team. He's unpredictable, and of course, every time he gets the ball, like a lot of good players, he'll have at least two, possibly three players on him. So I think they're all plus points. If I were to say of any negatives, I think sometimes he, he has a bit of swagger about him, which I actually quite like. I like when footballers don't always conform, like in any sphere of life, don't always conform to the expected way of doing things. It's nice to be a bit of a rebel sometimes. In different ways, I've always seen myself a bit in that light. I don't like conformity for its own sake. I like to, think outside the box, and I suppose that's a good metaphor or something for football. You think outside the box. You're in the penalty box.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the fact that he's different. He's a bit rebellious, but as also is the case, people who do rebel a bit, don't quite toe the line, can often be outside of the chosen few. Now, another example we could say of that would be Matt Le Tissier, who, again, in my view, and probably in most football fans' view, was a brilliant footballer. I mean, he was well known for his volleys, wasn't he? He could volley a ball like a bullet. And yet he got, I don't know how many, but he got a tiny handful of England caps. He just wasn't considered a team player, I suppose. But that's the magic of having someone like him in your team. The crowds love people like that because they can do almost the impossible. And Matt Le Tissier was like that. And I think he's a classic example of, the best England striker we never had, or midfield player we never had, because I think he should have been coached into playing for the England team, but not having his individuality coached out of him. That's always the thing. And maybe with Jack, maybe Pep felt he couldn't coach that kind of rebel, which is part of Jack's game, as well as being on a party circuit. Part of his game is being a rebel, and you don't want to coach that out of people. You really don't.
No.
For obvious reasons, because they're crowd pleasers and they're match winners. So in one way, I'd say, yeah, if he carries on playing well, he should be up for playing in the World Cup. Otherwise, if he does maintain kind of a swaggering image, a party image, he probably won't be selected because it doesn't look like he's wholly committed.
Yeah.